Hello, my name's Amy and welcome to this cozy late summer writing vlog. It is almost a year since I last filmed one of these, which is extraordinary to me. But we are starting something very exciting this week and I wanted to take you along. I have spent the last couple of days working on an outline for a book I am calling Project Wardens, and this is the first in what I hope will be a cozy fantasy series. Now, I've never actually written cozy fantasy before, but I have written things which I would call cozy adjacent. Project Wardens will be set in the world of Eterna, or the Eternal World. Now, I have one nearly finished series in this world and one just started. And whilst neither of those series are cozy, they are definitely heroic. They feature a lot of inherently good characters dealing with difficult situations. And whilst the endings may not exactly be happily ever after, they are books that are very much infused with hope, with people doing the right thing, with friendships and found family, lots of magic of course. And whilst I haven't embraced the cozy vibes in those books, they are definitely a long way from grimdark. So Project Wardens feels like the next step from those series. Now, this is a book that has had 4 or 5 different versions already. None of them so far have worked out, and I've never been able to put my finger on why. Honestly, I think I could have made some of those earlier versions work, but something always felt a little bit off to me, and I never got more than about 10,000 words into any of them. But when I was thinking of cozy fantasy more generally, and wondering whether I had anything that would fit the category, my mind came back to Project Wardens. There are a lot of themes in this book about protecting nature, about building community, and I just felt it would be a really good fit for cozy fantasy. Indeed, when I started re-outlining the book, it came together so easily. I'm using the same world as the previous series and the same individual setting that I tried to use in those earlier versions. I've also got the same main character who has the same role and even the same background. I've added one more point of view character. There is going to be a hint of romance, and I really didn't have to tweak those earlier plots very much to make it cozier. Compared to the earlier versions, there is going to be more emphasis on little details of the world. There's going to be less action and more focus on solving problems through negotiation rather than violence, which is a theme I really like anyway. And I'm just really happy with how the outline has come together. I've only spent a couple of days on it and maybe a week beforehand making some notes, but it is just flying along. I feel like shifting the subgenre just a little bit has solved so many problems with this book. I'm really excited to start writing it.
I've been running wild, you've been putting time where it should go. Fall back behind, been here many times, but you always.
Good morning. We are out in the garden to enjoy a bit of fresh air and sunshine. It has been really autumnal here the last few days. Really cold, showery, grey and windy. So it is nice to see the return of the sun before summer ends. Now, I wanted to catch you up on the writing because that has really taken me by surprise. I only updated you yesterday when I had started the outline. At that point, I had a fairly good idea of the overall plot and the 2 main character arcs, and I had mapped out the first 4 or 5 chapters, which is going to be the first act of the book. But I reached a point yesterday evening where I felt that I had mapped out those chapters so well and so securely that I really just wanted to start writing. Now, this is fairly common for me. It is quite hard for me to write an entire outline in detail without getting a feel for the character voices, without getting a feel for how long the chapters are going to be. And the only way I can really do that is by writing the first few chapters. So that is what I'm doing. I started last night writing 1,000 words. That is the entire first chapter. It's very short. It is an introduction to our male main character. He is just about to leave the town he calls home to set out on a very important mission, and our female main character, Asha, is going to find herself sent after him. And this morning I sat down and wrote the first 1,000 words of the second chapter, and honestly, it is really flowing so far. I'm really pleased with the way the words are coming. I already know Asha really well because she has appeared in every single version of this story. So my plan at this point is really to just try and keep the momentum going. As long as I have some chapters mapped out, I'm going to keep working on those. I expect those will come to maybe 20,000 words, maybe a little less. And I also need to take the time to keep outlining as I go along, which I think will be easier once I know the characters a little better. We are back outside again because there is not really space to film inside the caravan in the summer holidays. So please excuse the barking dogs in the background. They belong to our neighbour. They pretty much bark all the time. But let's get to the writing. Now, I am 5,500 words into the cozy fantasy. I'm really happy with the way the draft is going so far. I think I've slowed down a little bit over the last couple of days, simply because the initial rush of excitement has worn off. I am still really excited about the book in general, but definitely for the first couple of days, I was itching to get out of bed in the morning and get straight into the writing, which was a fantastic feeling. I haven't had that for a while. I always do enjoy what I'm writing, otherwise I don't see any point in tackling books that I'm not going to enjoy. But this has been excitement on a very different level. So right now I am aiming to write about 1,500 words every single day. I have a tentative deadline of the end of September for finishing this draft. We're about 2 weeks into August as I film this. That would be a decent drafting pace, but nothing out of the ordinary. I do tend to draft quite quickly. So what I'm trying to do right now is get as much drafting done first thing in the morning as possible, and then wrap up things like admin or the last few hundred words later in the day. That has been working really well so far. I do have work and commitments over the summer, but they are usually fairly flexible about the time of day, and my mornings are usually fairly clear. And it does make a nice change to not be doing all my words in the evening. As for cozy fantasy itself as a genre, I'm finding I am really enjoying it. I listened to a podcast recently interviewing Sarah Beth Durst, who is the author of The Enchanted Greenhouse and The Spell Shop, which have done incredibly well. And she was talking about the need in cozy fantasy to really hone in on the details and to write more lingering, flowy prose. And I absolutely adore both of those things. They come very naturally to me. I have written thrillers and the like in the past, but those really were a deviation from, I think, my natural writing style. The coziness is suiting me down to the ground. Stay for sure. We've just got back from a social event featuring extended family, so I am feeling pretty drained right now. If you are in any way an introvert, and I am a massive introvert, you will know the feeling. So what I'm really looking forward to right now is sitting down, putting some music on, and writing a bit more of this cozy fantasy. That sounds really appealing. Before I do that though, I just want to mention the indie book sale that is happening towards the end of August. I have just had my acceptance email for taking part in the sale, so it seems like a great time to tell you about it. The sale is taking place from August 23rd to 25th. It will be full of fantasy, science fiction and horror books, all heavily discounted, many of them free or 99 cents. And this time round, the sale is bigger than ever before. There are over 300 authors taking part, which is incredible. My book, The Goldstone Tower, will be included. This is actually the second book in my Moon Ruin Saga high fantasy series. The first book has been in the sale a couple of times, so I am giving people who have bought the first book a chance to pick up the second, discounted for the first time in its history. But there are simply so many books to choose from in these sales. It gets bigger every year. The selection is fantastic, and I highly recommend you check it out if you see this video before the 23rd of August. I will put the link here on the screen and I will also leave it down in the description. And there will be a quick reminder coming up on my community tab nearer the time. As ever, thank you to Tessa for organising the sale. I know this is a huge commitment and she does it twice a year. I'm really looking forward to taking part in it once again. But that is not coming up for another week and a half, so right now it's time to get some words down. What a morning it has been. We have had our car falling to bits, we have had a leak on the toilet, luckily on the clean water supply, but it did cause a bit of a flood. We were supposed to be having someone coming to inspect our sheep, kind of an official paperwork kind of thing, only to get a phone call after the sheep were all penned up to say that she actually needed to be somewhere else about an hour away and she wasn't coming to us after all. And it has just honestly felt like chaos this morning. I have not written a single thing. I've spent a lot of time running around with towels, running around in the field in the rain. No writing though. But this is one of the things I have been really enjoying about AuthorTube recently. I have had loads of recommendations for really new AuthorTubers, many who are working on their first or second books, have not published anything, have not queried anything, and here I am getting ready to publish my 16th book. It would be more, but there are one or two things that I've had up and taken down over the years. I have been writing for more than 20 years. I finished my first novel when I was 16. There have also been periods of querying and submitting to publishers before I self-pubbed. And yet, even with all those years of experience, I still have these days where the writing just does not happen. So I've really enjoyed recently watching these newer writers on AuthorTube, reflecting on the ways that my own writing at the moment looks very different to theirs, but also in the ways where sometimes it is incredibly similar. Now, where are we actually at with Project Wardens? The last couple of days actually have been really good word count days. I had a 2,000 word day and a 1,600 word day. My goal is about 1,500 words, which should get me finished by the end of September. So I am a little bit ahead. I am gaining on my word counts, and the draft is currently sitting at 8,000 words. And I am still really enjoying it. I definitely need to spend some more time on the outline. I have the first 4, maybe 5 chapters really thoroughly mapped out, but after that is just a very vague series of bullet points and I need to work on that. If I don't, it is definitely going to slow the pace of the drafting down once I get into the second act. But the story itself is giving me a lot of joy. I am very much enjoying describing the world and the cozy moments to be found in it and delving into the characters, probably deeper than I would normally do at this point in a draft. And the whole thing has just been a real delight so far. I have watched the growth of the cozy fantasy genre, subgenre, whatever you want to call it, over the last few years. And I'd kind of convinced myself that I wasn't capable of writing it because I put too much action into my books or my themes are too dark. And I am learning that that is complete rubbish. I am actually really suited to this genre. I love the description, I love the prose style, I love working on my characters. And this is probably the first version of Project Wardens, of which there have been 4 or 5 already, that I actually feel confident in. And I am so looking forward to the second act. There is so much good stuff ahead. Now though, after my fairly disastrous morning, I have to get some words in, so let's get to that. We are filming in the car because this is the only place I can find to sit where I won't get interrupted. It is Sunday morning and I am wrapping up my writing for the week, so I wanted to give an update about how it has gone. My goal this week was to reach 13,000 words in the draft of Project Wardens, and I am very pleased to say I have reached that as of this morning. So I have written 11,500 words this week and another 1,000 of outlining. I'm incredibly pleased with that. The book is flying along. I'm really enjoying writing it. I have just broken into the second act. I have a fairly good idea of what happens up to the midpoint. I haven't planned this out in a huge amount of detail, but I have lots of individual scenes that I do want to include. I know the vibe I'm going for and I know what I'm working towards. So if I get a chance for more writing today, I will probably spend that on outlining, trying to get the next few chapters sorted, and then it will be straight back into it next week. It has been really nice to hit my stride with this book so early on, and to find that cozy fantasy really suits me, because I wasn't certain that would be the case. I really did not know how this book was going to go. Now, of course, there are surely going to be lots of trials ahead, because no first draft ever goes completely smoothly. But like I said, I am just flying along through this. I am enjoying it so much. I really like the characters, I like the world, I like the plot points I have coming up. I'm really looking forward to writing those. And I still have a very ambitious release date for this book in my head. But the good news is that if I can keep drafting at this pace, I may actually meet it. So that's it for this vlog. Thank you for joining me this week. It has been such a ride, and probably one of the most productive writing weeks I've had in a while. I cannot wait to see where this story goes. Please let me know down in the comments what you are working on right now. And if you have any cozy fantasy recommendations, I would definitely love to hear those. So keep writing, everyone, and I'll see you next time.
Stay for the show.